Took my mouth.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio podcast and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Nikki Williams. Nikki and I are going to be talking on the topic healthy aging for postmenopausal women. Big topic, you know. As we get older, a whole bunch of things happen when we get into menopause. And normally the doctors say, hey, the only solution is for you to take those hormone replacement drugs. But there's a lot of talk on whether that's good for you or not, or if it causes breast cancer and if it causes all those different things. So I personally have decided not to take them because, yes, I'm in menopause as well. So, what we hope to do today is to bring you some information. Nikki is an expert at it. So, welcome, Nikki.
Thank you so much, Manna. I'm really excited about our chat today, especially if you are in this phase as well. I can really get some value for you, hopefully.
Yes, great. I'm excited too. All right. So, let me give you guys a brief introduction. Nikki is an award winning nutritionist, author, speaker, and a leading expert in women's health and hormones. She is the founder of Happy Hormones for Life, helping women to reclaim their health and feel better than ever. Nikki's new book, Life After Menopause, is about reframing aging and embracing a healthy body and mind for your next chapter. Yes, one of the things that I love about um, Jane Fonda is that in her book, she talks about the first, second, and third chapter. So, menopausal women are in the third chapter. So that's
Yeah.
great. I'm glad we're talking about chapters. So let's start off strong. Women who are in menopause all of them suffer from hormone imbalance. What are some of the symptoms that are related to hormone imbalance, Nikki?
Okay, so I'm going to reel you back a tiny bit and just educate you and the rest of us, because I didn't know this when I was going through my hormone issues when I was in my early 40s. I didn't know that there were over 100 hormones running around our body. So when we talk about hormones, we often are thinking of in this phase of our lives about estrogen, progesterone, and the testosterone. The sex hormones that are radically changing through this transition. But hormone imbalance can happen with any of our hormones. So we can have up to 100 different hormone imbalances, right? So when we talk about menopause, it's really interesting for me to expand that discussion to lots of different hormones because for one reason is actually that when we go through menopause and particularly perimenopause, which can start in your mid 30s, so we're talking about potentially 15 to 17 to 20 years of this transition. And it can be gradual and it can be different for lots of different women. Um, but as we go through this transition, obviously our sex hormones are the ones that are most dramatically changing because our progesterone plummets and our estrogen goes on a bit of a roller coaster before it starts to decline. But we've got these other hormones and they have an impact as well. And often their symptoms of if they're out of balance, their symptoms can mimic what you might think is menopause related. So you know the menopause symptoms, right? Let's go through some of them, right? Fatigue. Okay. So fatigue, mood swings, brain fog, memory loss, weight gain, digestive issues, hair loss, dry skin, irregular and painful periods before they finally stop, poor sleep, low sex drive. The list goes on, actually. You can Google all the symptoms of menopause, right? There's lots and lots of them.
Dry vagina. Let's put that in there.
Oh, totally. I missed that one out, but thank you for adding that in because that's a really important one.
Yeah.
Uh, so these symptoms are very, very long because these hormones are very critical to all these functions in the body. So when we don't have enough of them or if they're out of balance, they can cause these various symptoms. And each woman will have her own unique set of symptoms. And they won't be like the same ones for everybody. And some women sail through it completely
Yeah, like
fine.
my mom. My mom never had any menopausal symptoms.
And that's amazing, isn't it? But they do think that it's around 20% of the lucky minority that will, escape the
Right,
major symptoms.
right. Mhm.
But the rest of us, we will have symptoms ranging from mild to kind of debilitating, and there's a big spectrum. But some of these symptoms, they are classic hormone imbalance symptoms, but we need to know whether they're which hormones are out, because it might not be the estrogen and progesterone that's causing your symptoms. So I'll give you one example: fatigue, for instance. Okay, so we're all tired. Uh, yes, menopause can cause extra fatigue. So can something cortisol, which is one of our stress hormones. One of the symptoms of excess cortisol is fatigue. Um, Thyroid is another hormone. If you don't have enough of it, you will be tired. That's just a classic symptom of low thyroid, because thyroid produces energy. If you have
Is low thyroid one of the hormone imbalance that affects menopausal women?
Yes, very
Okay,
much so.
okay.
Yes. It's one of those that, tends to hit women over 40, the most. And that's, there's a little bit of an age thing in there, but actually thyroid hormones are produced in the thyroid gland, and they can be very much affected by menopause, by stress, by other lifestyle and dietary factors as well. So as we go through that menopause transition, which is stressful, by the way,
Yeah, yeah.
as a physical stress on your body, yes, your thyroid can be affected. And actually, thyroid's a really interesting one, because many of the symptoms of low thyroid, energy loss, mood issues, anxiety, depression, memory loss, brain fog, dry, itchy skin, hair coming out. A lot of those symptoms can be mistaken for menopausal symptoms, and you may be given HRT when actually it's nothing to do with that. It's actually your thyroid. So it's really good to be educated on what these different hormones are, and also just check off those symptoms, so that if your doctor's not on the ball, you can go to the doctor and say, "Do you know what? Before you put me on that medication or whatever you're going to give me, can I just check it's not my thyroid, and get your thyroid tested?" So
Mhm.
this is where education comes in, and I don't know about you, Mena, but I never had any education on hormones, or what happens to a woman's body as you go through life.
Yeah.
I didn't even know much about, we don't get to know much about our menstrual cycle, let alone menopause. So we don't really understand what's happening to our bodies. And then when we hit our 40s and we hit perimenopause, we go, oh, hang on a minute. I'm not the same anymore. Something's happening to me, and I don't understand what that is. And, luckily now there's so much more information around now than there was when I started this work 10 years ago. The word perimenopause
Yeah,
didn't even exist back then. But,
yeah,
there is a lot of information, but with that information can come a bit of confusion as well, because it can be a little bit overwhelming.
yeah,
But the good side is that we do know more and more, and there is so much more information to support women, and we can go to our doctors now with a little bit more informed knowledge,
yeah.
which we didn't have in the past, and that's really helpful.
Right. Yeah, you're right. When I went through my journey, I started with the hot flashes, and those were very uncomfortable. And I said, you know what? I can't stand these hot flashes. I can't stand, feeling like I'm heating up and or whatever. So then I went in HRT, and then immediately, within a year or so, then when I went for my, mammogram, I had calcified cells. So they said it was estrogen, um, uh,
Proven.
related, whatever the word is. There was a right word. So then I stopped the HRT medications right away. Um, then I had, 10 years later, I had a specialist on breast cancer come on the show. And she told me that you don't in a year, you can't be estrogen. The HRT couldn't cause the calcification of my cells because it takes 20 years to do. So, I mean, even the doctors don't have that kind of information. So, and I kind of agree with her because it was almost immediate. But yes, I didn't trouble with a whole host of symptoms other than sleep, and it's still my biggest issue, you know. And I read a book recently that talked about is actually the top book right now on lifespan. It is by Dr. Atia, and he's talking about longevity. And in there, he talks about hormones, and he says you need to go to your doctor and tell him to pull your hormone panel And so I went to my doctor and he says, I need to pull my hormone panel. And he says, why? I know what I'm going to see. You're in menopause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, so this is, yeah, it's not just, and there's nothing he can do because you're in menopause. He says, you don't want to take those drugs, so you got to deal with it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is what happens so much, and I hear so many stories from women this side of the pond as well. It's the same situation here. You go to your doctor, they say, "Well, you're at this age. You either put up with it or you go on this medication. There's no other way." There are so many other ways,
Good.
and
That's what we're going to talk about.
yeah, there's
Right.
lots of other ways, but there's also, and for me as a practitioner, I want to see more information because I don't want to just guess that you're in menopause. Like I said, it could be a thyroid issue, it could be a cortisol issue, it could be a blood sugar issue, it could be a ton of other hormones that or other things that might be happening that are causing your symptoms. So for me to just assume that it's menopause that's causing your symptoms and then put you on a drug for that seems crazy to me. I wanna know more information. So that's why, luckily, we all have access to, private testing that's a little bit more comprehensive and available. Obviously, it does cost money, so it's not available to everybody. But if you can invest in your health, then they are a really good way of working with somebody who has got time for you and has got that knowledge that can test your different hormones and work out what exactly you need. Because it's not just an assumption. I don't wanna be, just given a drug because they're assuming something's wrong with me without even looking underneath, You wouldn't do that with a car, would you? You'd find out what's wrong
Well,
with me.
he did put my hormone panel, so he knows, what my thyroid was doing and those other things. But yeah, the progesterone and the estrogen are going to be the main ones that are almost non-existent. And that the estrogen causes this, and progesterone causes that. But everything else was in order. That's for me. But so yeah, let's spend some time talking about what a woman can do if several of her hormones are out of balance. The progesterone, estrogen, the thyroid. What else is there? It's out of balance. What are some of the things that she can do?
Well, I in my first book, I wrote about this whole perimenopausal journey, and I created a code, what I call a happy hormone code. Right, it's a general code with 4 steps to kind of help keep your hormones balanced because hormones are very needy. They need good nourishment in the form of nutrients from your food. They need a good physical active body so that they're able to be pumped around the body and the circulation's good. Um, they need you to be resting because too much cortisol just messes everything up. So too much stress and cortisol is going to knock everything out anyway. So for your hormones to work optimally, you need to be resting every day, whether that's good sleep or whether that's relaxation or switching off that stress response. And they need a clean environment so they're not constantly being bombarded by toxins that are trying to mimic them or trying to knock out their functionality. So hormones need those 4 general areas. So if I'm going to be general, because every woman's different, we'll need we can't go into a personalized program for everybody right here. But if I'm going to go general, these are the things you need to be looking for. Eat is your diet. Rest is your relaxation and sleep. Cleanse is your environment so that you keep that, as toxin free as you possibly can. And then move is the last one, which is all about movement. Not necessarily, exercise. You don't need to be in the gym every day, but generally moving so that your circulation is good, your oxygen's getting and your nutrients are getting to those cells. So those are the 4 areas that I talk about, and there are specific things within that. So we want to look at what kind of foods your hormones like, and what they don't like, what kind of movement you want to be looking for, what kind of environment and all the toxins you need to be aware of, and how to relax properly, so that cortisol doesn't sabotage you. So this, which
So
one should
yeah,
I dive into?
so, yeah, well, we know that relaxation is meditation. Everybody knows that. Movement is going taking a walk. But what kind of foods? Because that's something that I've battled with as well. Eating foods maybe that they said that has estrogen in it. Like almond milk, or the milk that has some estrogen or whatever. Some people say You don't need to, to eat food that would help with estrogen, and some people say that you should. So yeah, let's hear from you. What are some of the foods that a woman that is low in estrogen or low in progesterone can eat that would help build that up naturally?
Okay. Okay, so if we're going for those menopausal hormones, and if you know that you're low and you're not on HRT, then you need to be eating some kind of what we call phytoestrogens. Those are estrogen similar compounds that are found in plants. Now, the main ones are soy. I think that's what you were looking at with the
That's the
milk.
one I was looking for, and I said,
Yes, yes.
so it's
So soy and flax seeds, or we sometimes called linseeds, right? Those are the two main sources of phytoestrogens, plant-like estrogens. And if you're not on HRT, you need to be incorporating those in your diet, as long as you're not digestively intolerant to those, because sometimes you can be intolerant to soy, and you'll get stomach issues if you eat, and you've got to really avoid that then. So, when you're looking at eating soy products, there's a lot of information out there, and it's very controversial. My
I was
research,
just about to say that
yeah.
because some people said that you shouldn't take soy. But anyway, yes, go ahead.
So my research says that, and the research I've looked at is that organic, unprocessed soy is really, really good for you, for most people. Okay, like I said, if you're intolerant to it, you don't want to be going near that. But for most women not on HRT, you don't need to eat it if you're on HRT because you're getting that already. But if you're not, it's a really useful thing to eat daily. So, but you've got to be eating the right kind of soy. So it needs to be organic 'cause we don't want any GM stuff in there. It needs to be unprocessed, so as unprocessed as possible. Okay, milk is obviously processed, but you don't want any additives in it. You don't want sugar in it. You don't want carrageenan gum or whatever those are gums are, and additives and rapeseed oil and things like that. You don't want any of those things in it. You just want the actual soy product and water. That's how it should be made. So go for a really nice organic brand and you'll get the really good stuff. Organic tofu, organic soy yogurts with watch the sugar. Don't go for the sugary ones because
Mhm.
sugar's just gonna knock out all the benefits really.
Right.
Um, and things like edamame beans, you've got fermented miso paste, which is an incredible thing to use in cooking. It's got that savory umami flavor as well. Those are the sorts of soy products that you're really looking for. And if you can have like a portion every day, then you're going to be giving your body um, a source of estrogen. It's not exactly estrogen. It's not as strong as HRT, but it kind of tricks your body into thinking you've got some estrogen going on, and then you'll get some of the benefits that estrogen gives you.
That's good. I just started back taking flaxseed because I'd stopped. It was something that I was taking all the time, and I wasn't sure why I was taking it, but somebody said it was good to take it. And then I stopped taking it because, again, I've got all this information coming in, and someone said that flaxseed is plant based, and that if you're going to be using any kind of oil, it should be fish oil, which is whatever. So I stopped taking the flaxseed, and went back to just fish oil. But I just started back having flaxseed, so that's actually good to know. That flaxseed is. I don't think I ever heard that information before. Flaxseed helps with estrogen. That's amazing. It's good to know. Is there any food that helps with progesterone?
No,
Progesterone.
unfortunately not. Progesterone, it's not you can't get it from
I
foods.
can't
Um,
see it.
but can I just give you some info on HRT because there's a lot of controversy about that too. And lots of women are afraid of it. And what I would say to them is there are two types of HRT. There's the old type, which is synthetic and used to be oral estrogen. If you're on oral estrogen pill, then that would be the old synthetic type. And that's the one that's associated with side effects and risks and that you can't take for a long period of time. Okay. Some women have to take that because it's the only thing that relieves their symptoms, and that's fine, but you can't be on that for a long, long time because you increase your risks of things like breast cancer and clots and things like that. Okay. So
Mm.
that's the old HRT. There is a new format of HRT that is bioidentical, which means it's exactly the same as your own estrogens and progesterone. It's molecularly identical, so they haven't messed with the structure of it at all. You take it transdermally, so that's on the skin. usually as a patch or gel or spray, and that mimics exactly the how estrogen is usually produced locally in the tissues. It doesn't you don't swallow it as a pill, and it doesn't have to go through the liver and the gut. So that takes away the risks of things like clotting, and there's no associated at the minute. The research is saying no associated increased risk of things like breast cancer with the new form of HRT. So it's very, very safe in the right dose and in the right format.
I've
And
actually
progesterone is
yeah.
a micronized progesterone, and it's exactly the same as your own progesterone, and that helps with sleep, by the way. So
Yeah.
progesterone is your anti-anxiety pro-sleep hormone. So if you're not sleeping well, feeling a little bit stressed or anxious, then it's probably the progesterone that you need rather than anything else.
Okay. Well, I'll revisit that because, I have to take sleep aids to sleep every night. And I do the movement, I do the meditation, I do all that stuff. So, I mean, my cortisol is not high either. So it's got to be those pesky little estrogen,
Could
progesterone stuff.
well be, could be, yeah.
But I'm glad that you mentioned about the HRT. Again, I've read a lot of books and listened to a lot of podcasts and listened to a lot of experts, and they were saying now that somebody put out that false data that it's risk, but it was never risk. So they're saying that that information wasn't true. But yeah, the bioidentical hormones is obviously much safer, and they're saying that if you some people have such bad, sweats where they're like pouring. If you've got that kind of life,
Yeah.
take take the pill.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Nothing is worth putting up with that. I mean, I started taking HRT, the bioidentical format over here, we call it body identical, when I was 5 years ago, when I was 52, because I suddenly started getting night sweats and they were waking me up every half an hour. I was drenched. My sheets were soaking wet. My husband was like, "What's going on?" And I felt absolutely awful day to day because I wasn't getting my sleep. And you know what it's like when you don't sleep. You just feel you can't function properly.
Yeah.
Um, and my mum had just been diagnosed with osteoporosis, which we know is a condition, that is caused by low estrogen. So I had my hormones checked, and my estrogen and progesterone were too low, and I had these awful symptoms. So I didn't hesitate to take it because
Right.
for me, it's because they're very natural and they're exactly like your own hormones. You're just putting a little back in that's missing, and
Right.
it stops my
With the
symptoms
symptoms
completely.
right away. So you've been taking it for 5 years? I thought you said a minute ago that you can only take it for a short period of time. Or
Yeah,
that's the
that's
old
the old type. That's
okay.
the old type. The synthetic hormones. The new ones, you can be on it till you're 100 if you want to.
Okay. That's
That's
amazing.
That's obviously up to every individual and the
Individual,
advice they're
right.
getting, but for me, I intend to stay on it until as long as I need it, because I don't wanna be going through those kind of symptoms, you know?
Yeah, right. Yes, that's amazing. Well, I was spared the night sweats, but yeah, I just the body keeps getting here. It's very, very uncomfortable. One of the worst things ever. I have a question that I want to ask you that it always works together with menopause, and that's weight gain.
Yeah.
So, what does first of all, one part of the question is, does hormone imbalance cause weight gain? And which hormone specifically is responsible for the weight around the middle that most menopausal women get?
Right. This is a really complicated question because there is no single answer, I'm afraid. I mean, if we knew which hormone, was the main one, then, I think we would have lots of answers, lots of solutions.
Oh,
But
really? They don't
there's
know.
a whole mix of things going on, okay? And it'll depend on your lifestyle and your situation as to which one's causing your weight gain. So the first one is cortisol, okay? We talked about cortisol being your stress hormone. Now, cortisol likes to put fat around your belly area. It doesn't really do much for the rest of the body, but the belly is where it likes to put it because if you're in survival mode, if you're being attacked, which is
Right.
what the body produces cortisol for, you're in survival mode, you're in fight or flight, you're going to need that energy, very quick release energy. So the body, cortisol likes to store it around the belly area, so that if you do get attacked by a lion, it can convert that energy, that fat into energy very quickly. Okay, so that's the kind of ancient wisdom of the body, which is amazing. But if you're carrying a load of belly fat around and you don't want that, then it's not very convenient for you. So it's not the best.
And we're not fighting any darn tigers.
We're not. We're not. We're stressed in many, many other ways, but no, we're not getting attacked by lions every day. Mm. So that's one of the hormones that can put the weight on around the belly. And I know a lot of women struggle with that because they're generally, they're fine everywhere else, but they just can't shift that belly fat. And I would say to them, get your stress management sorted out. Go and do all those things that we're meant to do. Switch off that stress response, reduce that cortisol output and adrenaline output, and then you'll see that belly hopefully disappear. The number two hormone that causes weight gain is lack of thyroid hormone. So thyroid is your metabolism. Okay, that's what runs your metabolism. So if you don't have enough of it coming out of that thyroid gland, then your metabolism is going to be slow. It's going to be virtually impossible to lose weight unless you're starving yourself, which we never want to be doing.
Yeah.
Because it's just holding on to fat because you're conserving energy. So thyroid, obviously get that tested and make sure that's not the cause of your weight gain, because that's an easy one to fix, easy-ish one to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course menopause itself, estrogen, progesterone, they both have a role in metabolism and weight, especially distribution. So again, as we go through menopause, we've got more stress, so that's playing a part around the belly. We may have a sluggish thyroid, but we're also going through menopause where our sex hormones are changing. So yeah, it's also, by the way, one of the theories with weight gain through menopause is that as your ovaries shut down with the production of estrogen, your estrogen can be produced in a couple of other areas. It can be produced in your adrenal glands, which produces cortisol. So if you've got a lot of cortisol going on, there's not a lot of room for producing that estrogen.
Right.
And it can also be produced in fat cells. So if you've got a lot of held on to fat, it may be that the body's kind of holding on to that to get its estrogen fix. So again, once you go onto the HRT, once you've sorted out your stress, if you don't want HRT, if you're eating a good diet that's hormone supporting, then that can have a big impact. And the other big thing is insulin. Now, we haven't talked about insulin, but this is a really important hormone for women going through menopause. We know it looks after your blood sugar, right? So you release from the pancreas, goes to the blood and takes out all the glucose to use as energy for the body. But when there's too much energy, and the cells are kind of going, no, do you know what? I've got enough because you had breakfast a couple of hours ago, or I'm just full because you haven't done any exercise and burn it off. So I'm full of glucose. Thank you very much, Mr. Insulin, and it sends it away. And insulin's still carrying around this glucose, going, anybody want my glucose? Anybody? And the cells are all going, no, we're full, we don't want it. And then it has to do something with this glucose, this sugar, so it stores it as fat. So that's why we can often gain weight again in menopause, is because we become a bit more insulin resistant, which means those cells are kind of shutting their doors a bit more often. And it just happens as we go through menopause, but it's also affected by stress and, of course, what we're eating and how we're sleeping and how we're moving. All these things have an impact on how our insulin works. But insulin is inflammatory, it's fat storing, and it kind of makes us feel really awful as well, because if we're on that blood sugar roller coaster and we're having lots of blood sugar dips, it affects our mood, our energy, our brain function, our weight, and also how we sleep. So those things are obviously, make or break with how we feel every day. So as well as the weight.
That's actually a good one, because I think I read a statistic that says that almost everybody that's in their 60s are pre-diabetic. If they're not diabetic, they're in that range, because they're developing insulin sensitivity. And I didn't think it had anything to do with menopause, but I guess it just has to do with aging.
No, it has a big impact. The women are more insulin resistant than men because of our hormonal situation, and because we're more finely balanced and tuned. So we have to be particularly careful about what stimulates insulin. And we know what stimulates insulin is too much sugar and too many refined carbs, also alcohol. Those sorts of foods are going to push out more insulin, and this is going to make exacerbate our symptoms as we go through this transition. So we're just not very good at handling carbs anymore, basically. So
Right.
we have to choose the right carbohydrates. We have to choose the vegetable sources, the complex carbohydrates, and really minimize our intake of sugar and the refined carbs, which are the simple carbohydrates like bread and white pasta and white pastries and biscuits and sweet stuff, basically.
Yeah.
I know all the stuff that we love.
I haven't had bread in years. I don't eat bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. All right, that's a good conversation. So, are there any home remedies that women can take to balance their hormones naturally? So we talked about the four steps that you mentioned before, which is walk. I mean, not walking, movement, environment, your diet, and sleeping. So is that does that cover all of them, or is there anything else?
No, there's lots more.
Wow.
You
Okay.
can go that extra mile and go take some supplements, which always recommend for women over 40 because supplements are really key for nourishing those hormones and just making sure you're getting those nutrients that they need. So things like I have a top five. Do you want me to run down that quickly?
Yeah, please. Yes.
So our first one
Let's
is
keep on taking them.
exactly. You can check them off your list. The first one is a really good multivitamin because we need a whole array of vitamins and minerals, and we're not going to necessarily get all of those from the food we're eating, particularly these days when we're stressed as well, because stress depletes some of them too, and the soil isn't as good as it used to be, etc., etc. So we got lots of things against us. But if we take a good quality multivitamin and mineral, so I'm talking about one that has active levels of B vitamins. By that I mean they're in the right form of B vitamins because if you go and buy a cheap multivitamin from the grocery store, it's not likely going to have the right format of vitamin, and then it will just go out in your pee. So it's not going to be absorbed properly. It's not going to be enough. It's actually just not worth doing. So when I say good quality, I mean really good quality, a good brand. I won't go into brands because you've got different ones in the US, but um,
Okay.
um, a really good look for active levels of B vitamins. The next one is vitamin D because depending on where you live, you're probably not going to get access to vitamin D in the sun all year round. In the UK here, I'm in the northern hemisphere, we don't get enough sunshine.
Yeah, 2 days of sun a month.
Probably.
So I got that one covered.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. But the thing is, as well, even if you have non-stop sunshine, you still need to be exposed to it, right? So you may cover yourself up, may stay in the shade, you may cover yourself in sun cream. That is not going to get you any vitamin D. So make sure you're actually exposing your body somewhere on your body. Hope not your face because we don't want wrinkles, but somewhere on your body you need to be exposing your skin for about 15 to 20 minutes without any creams on. As long as you're not burning, obviously. But that's the general optimal amount you need to get that vitamin D in. Now, if you're like me and you live in London for 8, 9 months of the year, we don't see the sunshine at all. So we might see it's not strong enough to get into our skin. So we have to supplement all winter. In fact, I supplement all year round because I've got a genetic variant, which means I don't absorb it very well. There's a whole nother story because we're all different again in terms of how we absorb our vitamin D. So vitamin D. Then I would be looking at, you mentioned earlier, fish oil. Really important for me because it's anti-inflammatory, and inflammation is another thing we have to deal with as we get older. So we want anything that is fighting inflammation in our corner. So omega-3 fats do that. Now, if you don't eat oily fish 3 times a week, I would recommend that you supplement with omega-3 fats, and it's the ones with EPA and DHA in it. Those are the two fats that go to the brain, and they're super important for brain health, for heart health, for your skin, your eyes, pretty much everything. So omega-3 is really important. And then I love magnesium. That's number 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
And magnesium is just an all-round
Mhm.
just a miracle worker for anybody in the modern world because it's a stress reliever, it's a muscle relaxant, it's helps you sleep, it helps you wind down, but then it also makes energy and it makes other things as well. So it's incredibly important for lots of different things. I think it does over 300 things in the body, right?
Yeah,
So magnesium is
it's
important.
great. Mhm.
And then the last one is I take is vitamin C because it's not just for your immune system in the winter, it's a really potent antioxidant. And again, one of the things that happens to us as we get older is oxidation. We literally kind of rust from the
Great.
inside. So we want antioxidants as much as possible, and vitamin C is a really important one. But it also helps our immune system and our eyes and skin as we
That's
get
great.
older too.
That's great.
Those are my top five.
Yeah, well, I do them all except the B. I take a multivitamin, every day, and then I supplement with individual I supplement my with individual supplements, for instance, I take
Yes.
ET, magnesium, I can go through the list. I take a lot of them. Ginkgo biloba for my brain fog that I have constantly. Um, but the B, I was taking B and I thought that it give me too much energy. So I stopped
D
taking
I
it
think it's
supplemental.
are you talking about D? Sorry, you're talking
No,
about
not
D.
D. So, right, yeah, I supplement with D as well because I understood not necessarily hormonal imbalance, but everybody talks about vitamin D is actually one of the top vitamins to take. So even though I walk in the full sun, I don't put on sunscreen anymore because I got dark skin, I don't need it. But I walk in the full sun 6 days a week for over an hour. So I'm getting my vitamin D, but I still supplement with it. But B is what I'm talking about. I bought B6 and B12, and I thought that it gave me too much energy, that it was affecting me getting to sleep. So I stopped taking it. And
It can do
eventually,
that. It
yeah,
can do that. If you take them
yeah.
individually in too high a dose, it can definitely affect your
Okay,
MP.
so I wasn't imagining it then,
No.
right?
But I would if that's the case, I would be taking a B complex because they all need each other. So there's no reason for them to take them individually. You need a whole spectrum of the
Oh,
complex,
got
and
it.
then
Okay.
you just take a lower dose, a much lower dose that doesn't affect
Okay.
gives you those symptoms.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So listen, I told you I was going to learn here. So yes, I'm going to put back in the B complex. Anything that's going to help me with menopausal symptom is yeah, is great. All right. So now let's get to your book on our topic. What does healthy aging for women postmenopausal look like? Which is basically your field and your specialty.
Yeah. So for the first I guess, so I've been in this business 10 years now. So for the first 8 years, I was really focused on my perimenopausal journey, my 40s, and really creating education and awareness for women in their 40s going through this time. And then what happened to me was my period stopped at around 52, which is kind of the average age for a natural menopause.
Normal. Right.
And when that happened, um, I started getting these night sweats, and I was like, "Hang on a minute. I know what I'm doing here. What's going on? Well, I have my toolkit. I made it. It's been working for me. It's been great. I felt amazing, and now I feel like this. Oh gosh, what's happened? Well, what happened was things changed. My period stopped. That my whole body, my landscape is just changed now because in my 50s, I've got a whole different thing going on, right? So once your periods stop, your postmenopausal, well, you have to wait a year officially, but anyway, once you're postmenopausal, you don't have to worry about those cyclical hormone changes anymore, but you do have to worry about a whole load of other stuff. You need to really be looking at the rest of your body. So it's beyond hormones. So this next book is I do obviously cover hormones. They're still really, really important to look after, but there's a whole load of other stuff going on now. You've got to look after your heart. You've got to look after your brain. You've got to look after your bones and your joints. So your metabolism. There's so many other things that can obviously cause disease as we get older. And one of the things we want to be doing is avoiding that where possible because we don't want to be ending up being shunted around the medical system because many of the medical systems in the world are overburdened and under-resourced, and we don't necessarily get the right or best care depending on who you are and where you live. But staying out of that system is your best bet if you can possibly avoid it. Um, so we can do a lot of things to help us stay out of the system as much as possible and really be in control of our own health. And there's an awful lot that we can do. So I'm really focused on, okay, how do we keep our heart happy? How do we keep our bones strong? How do we keep our brain nice and active and healthy as we get older? Because those are the areas that will tend to decrease the quality of our life as we get older if we go down that route. So what I came up with was my embrace protocol, which is I love the word embrace. Really, I wanted to use that because I really feel like these years are a bonus. We didn't always, 100, 200 years ago, we didn't have these extra years, but we are now looking at a mid-80s life expectancy for the average woman. And if your periods stop at around 52, that phase is a huge long another lifetime. If in a way, it's our third phase of life, and at a time when we have probably looked after other people for the majority of our lives. And this is a chance, these years ahead are a chance to do something for ourselves for once. If you get that chance, not every woman has that because we have a lot of responsibilities, but we are free of our monthly hormonal hell for some people. We are wiser, we're more resilient, we're more experienced. We may have opportunities that, maybe different jobs or different responsibilities. We might want to change career, we might want to change partners.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you. Your children may have flown the nest if you have kids. And it's a real opportunity for a lot of women to redesign their lives and craft something new that really brings them more joy and more purpose in life if you're looking for that, because it's an uncharted territory in a way. There are no rules. We can do what we want with it, and for
Right.
many of us it's an opportunity to finally do what we want to do, and I'm certainly looking at it like that. So I've called this protocol embrace because I want us all to embrace these years, but we can't do that if we're not physically and emotionally in the right place. So, in this protocol, I've covered all the areas that you can look at and start to. It's like a kind of pick and mix. I want someone to look at it and read it and go, yes, that sounds like it's a good one. I'm going to put that one in my toolbox, or I'm going to I don't I've tried that and it didn't work for me, so I'm gonna try this instead, and it's kind of like that. I'm giving you lots and lots of different options that I want you to create your own plan from, because, your plan is gonna be completely different from my plan. It's not gonna look the same
Right. That's
because they're
good.
all so different.
Right.
So, yeah, so embrace. So E is for eat, and again, this is all about diet, and the emphasis on this, as opposed to the menopausal years, is really focused on eating more protein, and maybe ditching the alcohol, which is really not going to serve you as you get older. I mean, obviously, the odd glass and a little bit of alcohol, and is okay for most people, but at this stage of life, I think it really, really does knock you out if you have a few glasses. It certainly does me anyway. I wake up with the most awful headaches these days. So it's your body telling you that actually it might not serve you as much as it you think it might.
Right. Right.
Um and really, really reducing those sugary snacks wherever possible. So that's really the emphasis on the eat section, and what foods really promote healthy aging and what foods don't. And there's no real surprises in there, but there may be some things that you might not have thought about. For instance, when you look at the Blue Zone research, they all eat things like berries in abundance. They have so many antioxidants and polyphenols in them that they really switch on some of those longevity pathways that I talked about. Things like beans, really, really important as well. All the blue zone areas eat beans in some form. So there's some other foods in there that I've picked out, but these are things to experiment with, and you may not want to do that. You may not like stuff like that, but I'm just giving you the information really. M is move. So we've covered move as well. And that's all about what kind of movement you need to be doing to stay mobile, to stay fit and healthy as you get older. And it may not be, the hard, intense cardio that you used to do. It may be that you want to incorporate more stretching and more yoga-y type stuff that's just a little bit more gentle on your nervous system. Um, it may be that, you wanna challenge yourself as well, so that's equally possible, but, it's really just to have you to think about that routine and see if you can incorporate kind of what I call the 3 S's: the sweat, stretch, and strengthen, and with the emphasis being on strength training for women, over 50 because our muscle gets, we lose muscle at an extraordinary rate as we get older, and it's really, really important to save it where possible and get your muscles strong and it's not a message that we've ever been told as elderly women is to strength train, but it's so, so important. So I cover that as well. And then B is for balance, which talks about your hormones again, how to balance them naturally or not. And I include a section on HRT in there for people that want to, have a combination or just want to do the natural route or just do whatever. There's information for everyone in there. And then R is the rest section, which is all about that relaxation, the sleep, breath work, incredibly important to get that oxygen in your body. These are some of the things that we haven't had to think about when we're younger, but now we're wanting a fit and healthy old age. We're going to have to start incorporating some of these things to give us a bit of an edge, basically, because nature's not on our side, but we want to incorporate some of these tools that can kind of biohack a little bit and give us a bit longer at better quality. And then where are we? A is about activating your anti-aging pathways. And I go into a few little things, like different things that can give you a bit of an edge, like fasting, for instance, like hot and cold therapy, red light therapy, those sorts of things. If you want to go a little bit extra, you can go and look in those sorts of areas. You don't have to, but this is information and tools that people are using to kind of really enhance their longevity. And then C is all about the emotional health. Connect it's called, and it's connecting with other humans, ourselves, our connecting with nature, connecting with food, and with spirituality. And there's lots of different, lots and lots of research that says that your emotional health is just as important as your physical health to get you living longer and better. So we look at that mind body connection and see how our thoughts and our emotions can actually impact our physical health. So there's a whole section in there on that. And finally, the final E is for eliminate and defend. And that's all about those elimination systems, your gut, your liver, and your immune system, because they're absolutely key to look after as you get older. Because anything wrong there, and it's going to predispose you to chronic disease, and it's going to affect your impact, your quality of life. So hopefully, I've covered everything physical and emotional in that.
Yeah, that is a good list. As you were talking, I'm checking off boxes and the things that I'm doing, but I never heard it put that way before. That postmenopausal women are, have some different things to look at other than, hormone imbalance. That's really
Yeah,
good information. Yeah, again, I mentioned Peter Attia's book, which is like the top book right now for, longevity. And he's made himself one of the top authorities on it. And yeah, he talks about strength training. So that got me back in the gym. Before I just like to walk, which I think is still strength training because it's a weight bearing exercise. But yeah, I got back in the gym because yeah, muscles are important, and then he's big on protein. So I incorporate a lot of protein in my diet right now. In fact, I had steak and eggs for breakfast this morning. So I'm getting in that protein. So yeah, so that's pretty good. And then he had, he sent something this morning about light therapy. I haven't looked into that, but I also do hot and cold too because I go to the sauna. And when I come out of the sauna, I take a cold, I take the cold water. Boy, that's cold. But yeah, he talks about that too. But the sauna is good, and yeah. So yeah, your book is awesome. I'm gonna pick up a copy myself so that because I love learning and I love the way you're presenting that, with the embrace acronym.
yeah.
So yes, I'll definitely pick up a copy of your book. So listen, knowledge is I wanted to say knowledge is power, but then I'm gonna do it. Knowledge is only power if you use it. So you read the book and then you do the things that make
Well,
this.
I totally agree with you, Myrna, because and because of that, I've actually created a workbook that goes with the book because I've realized that you can read as much as you want, but if you don't actually implement what you read in
Right, right.
learning,
Yes.
it's you might as well just go and read something else. So I've created a workbook that you can fill in online or in print. That will hopefully give you a real plan, and you can pick out the bits you want and put them into an action plan for you, and so really hope that that will help people implement these changes because it's so important to take on some of these, even if it's just small changes, and you start to put that toolkit together. It's gonna be really good for you. So yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. Yes, it's comprehensive, right? Awesome. All right. So, where can the listeners pick up a copy of your book? This is where you talk about your website and how people can, keep in touch with you.
Oh, yeah. The website has everything. So it's Happy Hormones for Life, FOR life.com. And it's got the two books that I've written and lots of free resources on there, as well as access to us if you're looking at doing any or needing any support through testing or one-to-one support. Um, and the book's available on usual platforms, Amazon, etc.
Awesome. Are you on social media?
Yes, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I'm on Blue Sky. Come find me over there. Um, if you know what that is. And yeah, just the usual. It's all on the website though. All the links are there. So that's
All the
probably the
links
best.
are there. Okay. That's amazing. All right. So I will definitely, as I said, pick up a copy of your book. And this is one of the ones that I normally consume my books audio because I listen to them while I walk. But this is one that you need a reference guide. So I'll pick up the hard copy book and keep it as my reference. So yeah, I mean, this menopausal thing, yeah, you've got to actively work it. So yes. And
Can't ignore it for long.
no,
It'll bite you in the bum.
it will bite you in the bum. I mean, osteoporosis, I'm not sure how prevalent that is now, but Alzheimer's is definitely prevalent. And that's one of the things that, and we didn't cover it, but you talked about looking after the heart. So those are the things that, yeah, I'm pretty sure that you cover in your book. Yeah, some of the things that you can do to look after your heart and your brain. Yes.
Yeah.
And, yeah, your bones. So that's pretty good. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anna. It's been a real
You're most welcome. Yes, this was a great conversation. I know I would get all into it because yes, I'm in this space, so that's amazing. I learned some things. I will, incorporate my B complex back in, and I will keep taking my flaxseed, even though it's not omega threes, but I'll take them both. So that's good because yeah, I think that I want anything that would help me with my estrogen level. You're saying nothing not gonna help with the progesterone, but, so, but yes, definitely. So, this is the perimenopausal and menopausal women is a target audience here. So I hope that you guys that are listening got a lot out of my conversation with Nikki today. I'm gonna have a summary transcript of my conversation with Nikki, and I'll link out to her website and her book. Yeah, your book is called Life After Menopause, correct?
It is, yeah.
Right, Life After Menopause. I'll link out to her book and her social media so that you can definitely follow her and keep in touch. And she mentioned if you needed any help, then you can also head over to the website and get the free resources. So this was a great conversation. Loved it. Enjoyed every moment of it. Learned some things from it. I hope you did too. So as we wrap up, Nikki, any last words?
Oh, just don't let yourself go unsupported. Like, you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, other people going through too. And if you've been told to just get on with it, that's not. what you should be doing. You should be looking for support. If it's with other people who have similar issues, or hopefully with a practitioner that can help you, or get yourself educated and informed so that you can help yourself. Because actually, nobody knows your body better than you do. You're the best person to help yourself at the end of the day. Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
And
so
reading
don't suffer in silence. What I
yeah, and Nikki's book gives you information that you can go talk to your doctor. Like I said, when I read Peter Tia's book, I went to my doctor and I says, I need you to pull a hormone panel. And yeah, I need to see my hormones, not just my sex hormones, but I need to see them all. Right. And he did. So not that he did anything about it, but at least I know.
first step, yeah, baby steps.
So that's amazing. So when you read her book, then you're able to walk into the doctor's office with your Bible, as you could say, and tell them what you want.
Yes,
Sometimes you have to do that. You have to advocate for yourself. So that's,
yeah.
yeah, go pick up a book and learn. Right.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. All right, guys, listen, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Transforming Your Mind to Transform Your Life. Today we're transforming your mind on hormones and premenopausal and postmenopausal things you can do. This conversation is aimed, at women, but any men that are listening, go pick up a copy of Nikki's book and give it to your wife so that she
Read
can
it
learn.
yourself too. It's all good for men too.
Yes, exactly. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.